I walked back into my own house after a week away visiting my sister, keys jangling in my hand, only to find my living room transformed into an art studio. Paint-splattered drop cloths covered my hardwood floors, easels occupied every corner, and the scent of acrylic paint hung thick in the air. My daughter-in-law, Sarah, stood at the center of it all, directing three women I'd never seen before as they painted abstract swirls on canvases. "Oh," Sarah said, not looking up from her palette, "you should really call before just showing up like this." The words hit me like a slap. Call before coming to my own home? The house I'd owned for 22 years, where I'd raised my children, where I'd grieved my husband's death 9 years ago. I stood there, 64 years old, clutching my purse and feeling like an intruder in my own space. "This is my house, Sarah," I said quietly. She finally looked at me then, her expression a mixture of annoyance and condescension. "Well, we're in the middle of something here. Maybe you could come back later?" One of her friends, a woman with purple streaks in her hair, whispered something to another, and they both glanced at me with barely concealed amusement. I felt my cheeks burn with embarrassment and anger. "Where's David?" I asked, referring to my 36-year-old son. "Grocery shopping," Sarah replied curtly, then turned back to her canvas. "We're hosting a painting workshop. It's therapeutic. Therapeutic. In my living room. Using my electricity, my water, my space, all while treating me like an unwelcome guest." I retreated to my bedroom, the only space in the house that still felt like mine, though even here I noticed subtle changes. Sarah's skincare products on my dresser. David's work clothes in my closet. Their presence slowly consuming everything that had once been mine. When David returned an hour later, I was waiting in the kitchen. The painters had finally left, but the evidence of their intrusion remained. Paint smudges on my walls, water rings on my coffee table, muddy footprints on my carpet. "Mom," he said, setting down grocery bags, "Sarah told me you came by earlier." "I live here, David. Or, at least, I used to." He sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. "We've talked about this. We're still getting settled. It's only been a year and 3 months." Only. As if 13 months of my life didn't matter. 13 months of me living with my sister Patricia, paying all the bills on this house while they lived here rent-free. 13 months of them treating my home like their personal playground. "You said it was temporary," I reminded him. "Just until you saved enough for your own place." "Real estate is expensive right now, Mom. We're doing our best." But I could see it in his eyes, the same dismissive look his father used to give me when he thought I was being unreasonable. The look that said my concerns didn't matter, my feelings were secondary to their convenience. "Sarah was incredibly rude to me today," I said. "She's stressed about her art exhibition. You know how important this is to her career." Always an excuse. Always her needs, her dreams, her comfort taking precedence over basic respect for me and my home. That night, lying in Patricia's guest bedroom 30 minutes away, I stared at the ceiling and finally admitted the truth I'd been avoiding for over a year. They weren't planning to leave. They'd slowly, systematically made themselves at home in my space, banking on my politeness, my maternal instincts, my reluctance to cause family drama. But kindness isn't weakness, and generosity isn't stupidity. The next morning, I called Janet Morrison, the realtor who'd helped my neighbor sell her house last month. Within hours, Janet was walking through my home, taking notes, suggesting minor improvements that could boost the sale price. "With this market, we could have a cash offer within 2 weeks," she said confidently. "Maybe sooner." How soon could we close? With a cash buyer? 3 weeks, possibly less. I felt something shift inside my chest, a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. Freedom was just weeks away. While David and Sarah went about their daily routines, I quietly prepared. I hired a storage company to move my most precious belongings to a unit across town. Photo albums, my grandmother's china, my husband's watch collection, all the things that made a house a home. I transferred my mail to Patricia's address and opened a new bank account they couldn't access. The house showed beautifully. Janet scheduled viewings while David was at work and Sarah was at her studio space downtown. By day 3, we had 2 competing offers. I accepted the higher one. All cash, 7-day closing, no contingencies. On a Tuesday morning, exactly 6 days before the new owners would take possession, I sat at my kitchen table with the closing documents spread before me. David was upstairs getting ready for work, Sarah was in the shower, and I was signing away the last 22 years of my life. I felt no sadness, only relief. When David came downstairs for coffee, I slid the papers toward him. "What's this?" he asked, still half asleep. "The house sold. You have 6 days to find somewhere else to live." The coffee mug slipped from his hand, shattering against the tile floor. "What?" "I sold the house. The new owners take possession next Tuesday." Sarah appeared in the doorway, hair wet, face flushed with anger. "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. It's my house. Was my house. Now it belongs to the Martinez family, and they'd like you gone by Monday evening." David sat down heavily, his face pale. "Mom, this is insane. Where are we supposed to go?" "I don't know, David. Where were you planning to go eventually?" "Because eventually just arrived ahead of schedule. You can't just throw us out with 6 days' notice." "I can, actually. You're not tenants, you have no lease, you pay no rent. You're house guests who overstayed your welcome." Sarah was crying now, but they were angry tears, not sad ones. "This is so typical of you, playing the victim. We were helping you by living here, keeping the house occupied." "Helping me?" I laughed, and it felt good. "By treating me like an intruder in my own home? By dismissing my feelings for over a year? By turning my living room into your personal art studio without asking permission? That was one time. It was the last time." David leaned forward, trying a different approach. "Mom, please. Be reasonable. We need more time. Maybe we could work out some kind of arrangement dash." "I tried to work out arrangements for 13 months. I tried talking to you about boundaries, about respect, about basic courtesy. You didn't want to hear it then. I'm done trying." I stood up, collecting the papers. "The movers come Thursday to get anything I left behind. After that, you're responsible for anything remaining in the house." "Where are you going?" David asked quietly. "Patricia's offered me her mother-in-law suite. It's small, but it's mine. No one will make me feel unwelcome there." As I walked toward the door, Sarah called after me. "You'll regret this. You're destroying your relationship with your son." I turned back, seeing them both clearly for the first time in months. David, slumped in defeat, finally understanding that actions have consequences. Sarah, still defiant, still believing she was the victim in this scenario. "No," I said calmly. "I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing peace. I'm choosing to live somewhere I'm wanted and respected." "But we're family," David whispered. "Family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. Family doesn't take advantage of kindness and mistake it for permission." I left them sitting in my kitchen, their kitchen for 6 more days, and drove to Patricia's house. That evening, I sat on her back porch with a glass of wine, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. My phone buzzed constantly with calls from David, texts from Sarah, voicemails from both of them alternating between anger and pleading. I didn't answer any of them. For the first time in over a year, I felt completely at peace. The closing went smoothly. The Martinez family was lovely, a young couple with twin toddlers who squealed with delight when they saw the backyard swing set David had used as a child. They planned to fill the house with laughter and love again. David and Sarah found a rental apartment across town. They moved out with minimal drama, though I heard through Patricia that they'd left the house in less than pristine condition. The new owners were understanding. They'd planned to paint anyway. 3 months later, I'm writing this from my new space, a cozy apartment attached to Patricia's house with my own entrance, my own kitchen, my own peace. I've started a support group for women who've lost themselves in their family's expectations. We meet Tuesday evenings, sharing stories of reclaimed independence and rediscovered self-worth. David calls occasionally now. Our conversations are different, more respectful, more equal. He's learning that love isn't about accommodation without boundaries, and I'm learning that being a good mother doesn't mean sacrificing my dignity. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling their disrespect. Sometimes choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. My house may be sold, but I finally feel at home.